They're coming, and for 2 days they're discussing these same issues. Because the first time they have answered without having any previous information. This is their gut instinct, how it should work. And after that, you're giving that person briefing material where you're not taking the varying positions, but you're giving basically all the consequences. The briefing material is made by people who have different views on this question, so they need to give as many as possible. But nonetheless, it's a 100% successful, but at least there is very strong objective for this. Also on the level of language. And it's made on the way that it's understandable for people who are not sociology students. Because the other problem of the sociologists is that they deal with the Bulgarian society because it's the sociology students. And basically, when you do this, for 2 days, these people are discussing the same issues on the following time scale. First, there's 3 or 4 panel sessions in which they're listening the experts of different opinions, the representatives of all political parties, government, but also most of the time they're divided in groups of 10 to 12 persons like us. And they're discussing between themselves. Because people are meeting 3 months or something, they could answer this question, they don't remember how they answered before. Because for them, this is just, it's not their life. But we're also discussing issues where it's not simply technical knowledge. We're basically Roman methods, mostly Bulgarians basic use. Most of them also have some personal experience. They have heard like something about paying, don't paying, the level of criminality, what should be done, what should not be done. And after discussing this for 2 days, at the end of the second day, we're giving the same questions once again. The same group to these 300 persons and asking them once more time to give the answers. And then they start to compare the answers. The idea is to see what is going to be the difference between the view of the informed citizen and the uninformed citizen. In a similar way, this is also the idea of the referendum in the way it should be, but will never be. Because in a normal referendum, you cannot put all the people and basically force them to read all the materials and to be informed. With 300 persons, you can. Of course, like all experiment, we're creating an artificial environment, which very much can lead to distortions, and these distortions can be very much discussed by the critics of the experiment. But for me and for our center when we did it, it was very interesting also because we used very much the discussion itself, so the huge coverage through the national media, to basically take most of the arguments and try to have people discussing the downside of this view. Because one of the important things which I'm sure you know very well from sociology is that people, most of them, are going to be influenced and they're going to change their opinion by something like that. Not by the most knowledgeable. Not basically by the person who is necessarily expert on this. The mistrust of the experts is becoming very high, especially when it comes to political issues. When it comes to physics, or even medicine, probably people are still more ready to trust the doctors, but when it comes to political issues and what we call it the civic expertise, people become very mistrustful. They do the experts defending their own interests. There is a years-long study that has been done by the US called Influentials. And it basically shows that when you talk about the most influential people in society, around 10% of the population makes the choices for the other 90%. But this 10% is not the elite. Who's going to basically influence my mother is a pensioner like her, whom she needs, and she's telling her all the time to boost to read. This is also very important on the consumer side. This is also, it appears that most of the things people decide to do are based on the information coming from somebody who you know personally, and not from their advertisement and things like this. So we did it, and the results are very interesting. Because when people make this kind of expertise, the idea is that somewhere the informed citizen is always more liberal than the uninformed citizen. For example, on the Roman case, it's very interesting. There are 2 areas in which many people, many 20-25% of people change their opinion. And people was about support for the education of the Roma kids. Because here you have two different types of arguments that came together. One is this side of when you start to think about some other problems, you start to understand that it could be that. And then, because it's slightly more tolerant, but the other is a very pragmatic kind of understanding. People started to understand that if we're going to treat the Roman the way we're treating basically try not to notice them, they're never going to learn Bulgarian. They're never going to go through school, which means that they're never going to find work. It's not a problem they're learning about them, as a result of it, they're going basically to be the kind of criminal activities because this is where they should go. And plus, there are going to be shortages on the labor market, so it means that also Bulgarian society is going to be forced to import labor from Africa, Asia, anywhere. And then, you have some of these hardcore nationalists who are shocked that there's a better give money for the education of the Roma, and getting all these fanatics from Afghanistan coming. So this is interesting and important because it's how it works. One intolerance easy to find another intolerance. It's not that people change their opinion simply because they understand that you're not treating human beings like this. And this is the major problem with the human rights rhetorics when it comes to sensitive issues. When we should that's how possible. So we're not there. And it works. So when it comes to education, we ended up with the majority of the people saying more money from the state for the Roman kids, no segregation, because we said, okay, if you're going to put Roman kids in our schools, what you're going to get is simply isolation. I read this. And you can notice people who have never read any human rights book in their life, but then it's simply it's bad for them. Not anything wrong, it's bad for them. They're not going to share the common language, they don't know how to approach these people, it's quite obvious that these people are never going to work Bulgarian, they're just between themselves. So here, a huge revolution that basically showing that if the government decides to put this money, even though there is a very strong support for the Roman kids being taken in all the kindergarten, starting when they're 3 years old, when it's much easier to get the language, then the government can have public support for this. Because the biggest problem with the Roma problems, like most of the human rights problems on sensitive areas, is not that the governments don't know what should be done. The major problem coming from the side of the government is we know what should be done, but we don't know how to be re-elected afterwards. People tend to believe that politicians are stupid, idealistic, but basically they're always very smart in a specific direction. So if they see something that is going to help them to solve a problem, they buy it. If it's not going to help them, they're not going to do it unless they know that it's right and it's going to benefit most of the people. So from this point of view, the only way to mean that it works is basically to allow them to show how the process works, because some of them are there. They answer questions, they see out the result, they know what is sellable and what is not sellable. But I'm saying this because you have this kind of institution, deliberate false. Many people now are going back and very much interested on all these primary precedents in the United States elections. Because you can learn what is like was happening in this way, engaging people in politics in a kind of very fascinating way, and seeing the Obama Clinton case, you can see that you're keeping people